Are now on the clock. The Buccaneers have made their selection. What can we tell you about him? That's why we have Adam Schefter.
Well, there isn't much to say other than this kid was born to run. He's the spitting image of his father, a nationally ranked sprinter in several major events and highly recruited by every major college. However, unlike his dad, he chose to pursue a career in football, and so far that decision is paying off. He may not be gold medal fast, but he has the speed and quickness to cause fits for the opposing team. He's the type of player you like to see out in the open field where he can make moves a lot of other players can't. The coaches are going to love having his speed at their disposal.
Falling too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous. Everybody circling as vultures. Negative, nepotist. Everybody waiting for the fall of man. Everybody praying for the end of times. Everybody hoping they could be the one. I was born to run, I was born for this. Whip, run me like a racehorse. Pull me like a...
All right, let's go to Adam Schefter, who's got more on this pick.
After turning in an average performance at the Combine, his pro day was just under 5 seconds. Nothing special, but what scouts were most impressed with was his 10-yard split. He tested faster than most other linemen in the draft. At the sound of the gun, he was out of his stance and passed the 10-yard marker in around 1.5 seconds. That's the kind of burst that coaches love to see from their big guys. Also told, he showed great bend in the knees and his footwork was sharp during drills. One GM told me he looked like the most complete lineman in the class, and it's no surprise he's already been picked up. He should be a solid anchor for this team in the future.
Everybody needs to be a part of them. Never be enough from the prodigal son. I was born to run, I was born for this. Whip, run me like a racehorse. Pull me like a ripcord. Break me down and build me up. I wanna be the...
The Lions are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Don't wanna be the parenthetical, hypothetical. Remind you that there's more to see. I'm just a product of the system of catastrophe, and yet a masterpiece, and yet I'm half diseased. And when I am deceased, at least I go down to the grave and die happily, and leave the body of my soul to be a part of me. I do what it takes, whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes, 'cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes, yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do what it takes.
No Harvard, but I was a scholar. Hard knocks, and I learned to be smarter. Don't prefer to be bothered. You get if I order. That's word to my father. I will for my mother. Deal with my brothers. Keep it real.
Adam, what can you tell us about Woods?
It's always great to see a running back win the Heisman. It's like a sign that the old ways of ground and pound haven't completely vanished. He was a pure workhorse for the team and accounted for well over 60% of its total offensive production. Remove him from the team, and I strongly believe it wouldn't have finished at the top of its conference. And now he has the chance to carry the ball at the next level, and this team just got a gem of a player. We'll see if he becomes its primary ball carrier right from the start, or if it incorporates him into a running back by committee system.
I can promise I'm being honest, this being modest, I am your highness, I am the finest, you rappers, plus you a liar, don't idolize and I don't admire, been doing me for like ever, I'm a better me, more clever, it's a new way, we surfing baby, new way.
Now that the Texans have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more.
If anyone should get a trophy for how to train in preparation for the draft, it has to be this kid. A lot of second-year guys will bulk up in the offseason to better protect their bodies from the intense physical demands of the NFL. It was smart of him and the trainers to get a head start on the rest of the class in that area. And from what I've been told, he hasn't lost a step. Now, when you look at him, you see a player that can contribute in week one. He's more conditioned than most of his fellow classmates, and that's going to help him hit the ground running once the season kicks off.
I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah.
Cause, but I still low. Got 100 different to my cell phone. Still 33 for low. I'ma ride to my dog sitting in jail. It's that lighter on the grass, spin it back, roll. I'm on Keller, I'm on Bishop, I'm on Flat Shore. I'm at Magic, I'm at Mileage.
Adam, what can you tell us about the Raiders' newest player?
English may not be his first language, but one thing is for sure. This kid can play. Despite only recently moving to the States, he's played American football for years and was one of the top athletes in collegiate sports overseas. He jumped at the chance to play in the NFL and used his final year of eligibility to play for a program here in America. The decision so far has paid off for him, as he was one of the most fun players to watch in college this season. And now his dream has been fulfilled, landing on an NFL team with this pick. But the journey has just begun, and we'll see what this European phenom can do in the big leagues.
Me, had to get it, how I got it on my phone to be. Don't blame me, I'm what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me, I'm the same man.
I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Dirty sort of treat me like a stain, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah. Roll it from the cradle to the grave, yeah.
On my hood, on my block, yeah. mama, I won't stop. Hey, play with me, let it, hey. Halo on me, Sailor Rock. Hey, got me when it's cold.
The London Bulldogs are now on the clock.
You my little baby boo, girl. I love you like my favorite color blue, girl. Real spill, yeah. I would rather be
The Bears are now on the clock.
rich, fall in love with her. She just wanna be in VIP with her. Don't blame me. Oh.
Let's go to Adam now, who has more on the Bears' last pick.
After a string of injuries his junior year and what looked like more of the same his senior year, he made the decision to leave the team. It was a difficult choice to make, but after consulting with the trainers and coaches, it seemed like the best long-term option. His body needed more time to heal from past injuries, and opting out of his senior year helped him make a complete recovery in preparation for the draft. So even though there wasn't a lot of recent tape on him, he did put on a good show at the Combine, convincing scouts he hadn't lost a step. Some teams were concerned with his competitiveness after foregoing that final year of eligibility, but at least one team was confident enough to pick him up. Now we'll see if this team can keep him healthy and on the field.
Talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of us doesn't mean anything to me.
The Brooklyn Yanks are now on the clock.
It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long. Yeah, it's just no way to deal.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
If you read Matt Miller's weekly draft stock report, you've seen this kid's name mentioned almost every week. He started the season relatively quiet, but each game he showed more and more of what scouts love to see. No doubt about it, this kid plays with heart and he plays tough. Watching him on the field, you can clearly see him go 100% and never waver. And on the sidelines, he looks like a natural leader, firing up his teammates or keeping them composed when necessary. I can see why scouts like Matt Miller have fallen in love with him. The coach and players have to be excited to have him on the team now.
Tell me how we gon' shape this vision. Complaining all day, but in the same condition. If you wanna make change, it's gon' take commitment. Some people enslaved by their religion can't emancipate the fundamental principles. When I see through optics, transform the wisdom. Watch me use my prophets, get them on the listen. I've been on a mission, and I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? Now everybody got fights, yeah, but wouldn't know what good advice was. Till they leave him lifeless. Another mama crying, it's another crisis. Lord knows we're just trying to live righteous. Are you willing just to make the sacrifices? I know we can't continue living like this, and I never sell my soul cause that's priceless. Tell me how we gon' make a living. Hustle on the block, who gon' save the children? Man, it's all a plot and I'm just revealing. The media just trying to make a villain. I just take the pain and paint a picture. Voices in my head, I hear the whispers when I feel this way. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me?
It's just the way I feel.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
It's just the way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm living on restless.
The Saints are now on the clock.
I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. To be lucky you help me, girl. I said, lucky you help me.
The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock.
As we go on, like we do, when it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need, a little mind at ease, there's a little sunshine in the summer breeze, yes,
The London Black Knights are now on the clock.
if you feel the same, then let me know. Yes, I do. What you got to lose?
You done made it to see a whole nother summer and it feel good. Stop now, top down through the neighborhood. Let the wind blow, open up the window. That girl is poison like Velvet DeVoe. We have a barbecue to do at 4. Swimming pool party in the back on the low. And the plates of food will be laid out for free. Little kids, get down. I have a bus pull up with Tommy the Clown to do the jerk. Go to work and do that dance that'll make your whole body hurt. Playing Bombardier, calm and clear. This that time of the year for everybody to be boisterous. Rock with Snoop Dogg and rejoice to this.
As we go on, like we do.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need, a little mind at ease, there's a little sunshine in the summer breeze, yes, baby, if you feel the same, let me know, then let me know, yes, I do, what you got to lose?
Shined up my white walls, night falls. I'm feeling good. I'm doing things that you never would, like surfing with the sharks or shooting in the dark. Riding on a bike with my grandson at the park. Evolve while I elevate. Take flight, levitate. Breakfast for dinner. I'm cold as a summer ain't the winter. Finna, bender, Kona, on a 3-wheel motion. I'm headed to the ocean. Caravan full of cars, neighborhood stars. Up the boulevard we go till we can't go no more. It's me and mine, it's summertime. You go off and we go on.
As we go on, like we do, when it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need, a little mind at ease, there's a little sunshine in the summer breeze.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Baby, if you feel the same, let me know, then let me know. Yes, I do.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
愛してよ私を抱いてよねそばにおいでよ私の最後の記憶に君の愛を残したい
Polo to the flow though. You already know though. It's Adamville for real. You see ya, just take a photo. I'm reppin' that's on photo with a on your brodo. Cause that Jodo thought that he could rob a player for some dodo. Oh no, I'm so Allen Temple. I'm so England Mountain. I'm so Misty Valley. And I got a couple yesterday out of Cali. And my bag from the valley bought me brand new balance. And I'm playing with a no.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
She been ride since her daddy rode on bold. I done in every hole, telling every I ain't with my wife, but if she meet her, might be a go. Rick Flair, flashy. Don't I look dashing? Don't I look classy? Don't act so sassy. I'm the man, boo. That's with or without you.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Hey, don't you see me out here shining, barely flexing. I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say it lonely at the top. This the best.
The The London Black Knights are now on the clock.
Live forever, live forever.
Daddy Patsy with 3 S's. Hit the S's, no S's on my chest, but all these diamonds got me blessed. Usually I don't do this. Dumb it down, go stupid. Since 17, been counting M's, my bank accounts on Goofy. Say, gave up. Now who know what the truth is? Chicago full of my garage is full of hoop. This got that southern drawl and all that. My like ball bags. The South got something to say, and all y'all can't get y'all ball back. If I ain't a hot boy, then what do you call sacks? Daddy fat, y'all never fall back. Like clocks in the wintertime, we stay eating like it's dinner time. Been feasting and feasting and feasting big, but it ain't no rhyme. We don't know the meaning of drought, cause we keep it so wet. Why swear now, it's been a while. Just speaking in general, boy, there is no formidable opponent or at that bone that never step on it. When you wanna mind the kind of give it hope when they down and out. Dig a hole so deep, ain't no climbing out.
Yeah, I hear him talking reckless, I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press, won't even address. They say it lonely at the top, it's just the best. Don't you see me?
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I hear him talking reckless, I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press, won't even address. They say it lonely at the top, it's the best. And even if we die today, don't live forever, live forever.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though. So go, slow, back my logo, for show, Coco. Get down on the. Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Back my logo, for show, Coco.
The Portland Snowhawks are now on the clock.
I've been since my early days, I've been stuck in my worldly ways. Propaganda, press, pan the camera, please don't look at me in my face. Everybody might see my pain, off the rail, might myself. Bored with life as aboard this plane. Steward this sex if I need help. Maybe what's your last name? Hopefully it still ain't been changed. Something about you make me not doubt your aqua silence. My brain scream louder. Asking when I'm gon' myself. Couple problems, my cash ain't help. Human issues too strong for tissue. False provider, war mask by wealth. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death and destruction's all I see. Out the side, I'm out of my mind.
The Lions are now on the clock.
The vibrations is all I need, all I need, all I need. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, yeah. Party
The Packers are now on the clock.
people move. Party people, I like to see you groove. This is how we do. This is how we do. Deja vu from a bayside view. I see black cats in the daytime too. I see black cats on the daytime news. When handcuffed, wrist, sandy skin turn blue. I met God once at the rendezvous and felt starstruck.
Vince, the car's out front.
Got things to do, got to make my moves. I can't miss my flight and miss you too. Boo, first class seats is overrated. Won't go unless they overpay us. Nowadays I'm overdating. My street for boo. Stay well acquainted. Their morning is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need. All I need. All I need. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death and destruction's all I see. Out the sight, I'm out in my mind. The sound of sunshine is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need. All I need. All I need. Party people, yeah. Party people, I
Yeah, you know I've been ballin'.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I've been ballin'. Ay, every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spike.
The Bills are now on the clock.
Just to let you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spike. Make it rain just to let you know. Tell a hater get up on my face. Yeah, I've been ballin' since.
Bill's pick is in. Let's go to Adam with more on Cobb.
A high-flying, hard-hitting defensive back, he was the subject of much criticism earlier this year after being unable to put together consistent performances week to week. Consistency doesn't even do the roller coaster of emotions he went through justice. A better description may have been puzzling. After turning in an exceptional performance in Week 1 with 2 picks, he was downright terrible in Week 2, being burned for 3 touchdowns. Week 3 saw him force a fumble and return it for a touchdown, and then Week 4 saw him get beat on plays that led to critical scores and a close loss. The pendulum continued to swing both ways throughout the entire year, prompting one scout I spoke with to nickname him the Enigma. This pick could have a huge upside, providing this coaching staff has the patience for him to develop into a much more consistent player.
Yeah, you cannot see me, the windows is tinted. Yeah, driving around right in that Bentley. Hey, you driving around right in that Bentley. Hey, but your shit, it should be rented. Hey, but that is none of my business. Hey, money won't stop me, go straight to the top. Believe it or not, you like getting the same. Yeah, yeah, she know I'm a rock star. Looking at my chain, on my diamonds rock hard. Turned the way up, I ain't getting tired. And if you wanna race, then we gonna ride. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spike. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spike. Make it.
The Raiders just made Baker their guy. Let's hear more about him from Adam.
He was one of the most dominant pass rushers in college football last year, getting everyone's attention after netting over 20 sacks and setting a new school record. He started seeing double teams at the line midway through the season, and that still didn't stop him from getting to the quarterback. Scouts all agree that he is a rare combination of strength and burst off the line that make him a threat on almost every play. He's a real difference maker for a defense, and he should be a starter for this defensive line in no time.
How dare you twist up the truth when I come round there like a bad boy, do it. Bun all the talking, go on and do it. Running through the party, bottle up. Rolls in my ear saying storms, don't do it. Double on my shoulder, I don't lack. Hitting with the business, I don't scrap. Even when I'm far, I'm so used to ride, but there's no car and no match. What you talking about? Clown, stand down. Never had a thing, never had a pound. You were never bad then, you ain't bad now. Never had them, then look back down. Wait, I saw bare kicks, saw bare clothes. Said not that, I can't wear those. I don't like them, they're not my thing. They went silent, they're all weirdos. Like yeah, storm's gone clear. Never had a Tom Ford or a Montclair. Man, them I can't be, you see my don dare. Tell them don't do it, don't dare. Don't care who you know from my block. You're not Al Capone, they can take my car and my crepes. I'll still do the road in my socks. Like who's gonna stop me? You, him, little man. I got blue slims. Don't be an idiot, move smart. I've been killing it, new king. You weren't ready for my new stuff. You're a boy by yourself, go and group up. And when Crep went states for the BTs, I was covering Crep like a boot cut. If mad, it's a family ting, straight family ting. Dumb man, I broke no salary ting. Had a dumb ting called Amy telling me to come round hers on a Valerie ting. Hashtag Murky Academy ting. You were like art and the gallery ting. Dumb boy there wanna chat about bars, wanna chat about. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, I'm too hot. I got money in my shoebox. I'm the man of the house.
The London Bulldogs are now on the clock.
Swan on my boombox. Still meat from the stew pot. Man, I'm go sick when my tune drops. Little man, that's a hooplo, not a hoopla. What? Pronounce it right. I go mad.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Man, stress, so I'm bound to lap. Wait, I'm bound to ride for flips. Real G's gonna ride around to this. Man, I got no time to write at this. I never left my 9 to 5 for this waste man thing. I don't care what rave man's in. I came here to relax, but if it gets mad, make a young boy take man's things. Try to tell me I'm way too big to rebel. Nah, man, you're never too big to rebel. I was in the O2 singing my lungs out rude, but you're never too big for Adele. Leave my yard, blow a kiss to my girl. Salute to my sister as well. Gotta keep trophies down at my mum's bit. Man, I'm getting way too big for my shelf. Man, I see bare MCs on the sideline, but I still got too late to commit. It's like, man, love, put my name in a random flag, get a plane to Qatar. This year I learned how to take care of business. Next year I'll learn how to play the guitar. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the youth. Man, know that I kick up the youth. Them boy there try to twist up the truth. How dare you twist up the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the youth. Man, know that I kick up the youth. Them boy there try to twist up the truth. How dare you twist up the truth?
The Steelers are now on the clock.
I got
The Brooklyn Yanks are now on the clock.
inside my DNA. Quarter piece got war and peace inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this. Immaculate conception. Not transformed like this, perform like this. With new weapon, I don't contemplate. I meditate. Then off your head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got realness. I just killed this 'cause it's in my DNA.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Just building in my DNA. I got dark, I got evil that rot inside my DNA. I got off, I got trouble, some heart inside my DNA. I just win again, then win again like Wimbledon.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
The engine and it's like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use it. Your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch, heritage inside your DNA. Backbone don't exist, born on side a jellyfish I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Like been through probably offend you, this is Paula's oldest son. I know conviction, burners, boosters, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers, kids and I wish I was fed. Forgiveness, yeah. Soldier's DNA, born inside the beast. My expertise checked out in second grade. When I was 9, on sale motel, we didn't have nowhere to stay. At 29, I've done so well, hit cartwheel in my estate. And I'm gon' shine like I'm supposed to, antisocial extrovert. And excellent meaning extra work. And absentness, you hurt. And passiveness, them struck my nerve. And that's a riff gonna be this case. The reason my power's here on earth. Salute the truth from the prophet say. I got loyalty, got royalty inside
This is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African...
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
I live about my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the maker emeritus. Tell me something, you can't tell me nothing.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
A tremendous physical talent, his draft stock plummeted after a well-documented battle with costly drops during a series of meaningful games this season. Sources have told me that when he's actually catching the ball, he's one of the most formidable wideouts in this year's draft. But he has to stop looking upfield in